This episode is brought to you by TaxAct. Don't do your taxes alone. Join TaxAct's National Admin Night. Admin nights are social gatherings for getting through your to-do list. So get ready for a night of fun, finding deductions, and filing taxes with TaxAct, where you can file your federal and state return for just $49 through April 8. Let's get together and get them over with. Visit taxact.com/admin-night for details.
Are you passionate about foreign policy, national security, and the latest in domestic politics? Consider becoming a member of the DSR Network, your go-to source for in-depth analysis and insightful discussions. With the DSR Network podcasts, stay ahead of the curve on global affairs. Each episode features top experts, policymakers, and thought leaders who break down complex issues into digestible, engaging conversations. From breaking news to historical context, we cover the topics that matter most. Whether it's the intricacies of international diplomacy, the latest in national security strategies, or the dynamics of U.S. politics, the DSR Network has you covered. Members receive an ad-free listening experience, bonus content for virtually all of our shows, an invitation to join the DSR Slack community, enhanced show notes for select podcasts, and much more. Visit thedsrnetwork.com/buy and enter code GRADUATE to receive 30% off the regular membership price for the first year or first month. That's thedsrnetwork.com/buy and code GRADUATE. Thank you very much for your support.
Welcome to The Secret Life of Cookies, where we try to solve the world's problems through the miracle of carbohydrates, one recipe at a time, with host Marissa Rothkopf and her dog, Bosco.
Oh, Hera, help us. Welcome to The Secret Life of Cookies podcast. Do we have a great show for you today? I am Marissa Rothkopf, and Bosco, my dog, is here at my side. And I am very pleased to say, we're very pleased to say, Bosco also speaks with me, that we will be joined by Wonder Woman. Yes, Wonder Woman. My guest is the legendary Susan Eisenberg, who has been the voice of the DC superhero from the island of Themyscira for over 20 years. And we sure talk about justice. Yep, this week. And pie. And the power of positive social media. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Susan, and I am very glad you're here to join us. Before we go diving deep into the Justice League, just so you know, remember, all the recipes for the podcast and links can be found on my Substack newsletter at marissarothkopf.substack.com. And if you can, please support my work with a subscription for $5 a month, or if that's not possible yet, you can subscribe for free. And don't forget to join Deep State Radio as a member for special perks. Either way, we are grateful for your support. Okay, hello and welcome to The Secret Life of Cookies. Today, I'm with a legend known as Susan Eisenberg. And some of you may not know the name Susan Eisenberg just off the top of your head, but I know Susan Eisenberg also as a voiceover artist who is very well known as the voice of Wonder Woman. And not only do we need a Susan Eisenberg today, but I think we needed a Wonder Woman in the world. And I thank you so much for coming and joining me today on The Secret Life of Cookies.
Okay, well, I'm giddy, and I was giddy when you reached out, and I think you did it as like an off the cuff, like, oh, I'd love to have you on my podcast, and I was like, I grabbed that invitation so quickly.
That's what I like.
I have 3 sisters. They all know who you are, and I told them all about it, and they were like, so giddy for me. They're like,
oh my God, I'm doing a spit take. Right here. That's amazing. Hello to all your sisters.
And thank you.
You know one of my brothers, but I do have another brother named Paul. I have a brother David, and I have a brother Paul, and I think Paul is a big fan of yours. I'm not to say David is not a big fan, but Paul is a real DC Marvel kind of guy.
Okay.
And so
And I'm a very DC girl. So you tell Paul, your brother Paul, that I send my best regards to him. And yeah. I mean, I'll take the DC and the Marvel. It's all good.
Right. I mean, I think he's actually a DC guy, but only recently, like my son, and he sort of like shaped me to understand the difference. That's my fault. Okay. I grew up watching the original Justice League.
Super Friends?
Saturday morning cartoon. Super Friends. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
Yeah. So I learned how to take if something gets into your eye, there was these little PSAs, and Batman and Robin showed me how to take my top eyelid and put it over my bottom eyelid so that if there's something in your eye, it helps to wash it out. And,
yeah, these are superpowers, by the way. These are superpowers that they don't talk about on my show.
You also host a podcast called Justice League Revisited, where you go into like the nitty gritty of all the episodes. And I've listened to a few of them, and it's like, I love how in depth it is.
It's cool because when we were doing the show, and I say we, the actors, we weren't having conversations with the directors and the musicians and the writers. And, they were on one side of the glass and we were in the recording booth, and you communicated with your voice director, Andrea Romano. And it wasn't like you weren't allowed to talk to them, but you weren't sitting around chatting. And today, all these years later, because the show is still so popular and so beloved, we can have those conversations. And they've been just so enlightening to me, and for the audience. And my co-host, James Enstall, he is a total fan. He's like he's known as Geek to Me Radio on social media. So he brings the fanboy, and I bring whatever I bring to it. And it's just been one conversation after another that has just enlivened my life. I mean, I love it so much. And I know we didn't need another podcast out there, but I just, even if there were 10 people listening to it, it makes me feel overjoyed. So I love it. I love doing it. Thank you for mentioning it, because I don't know if we have, I don't know if our fans cross over, but we should work on that.
We should definitely work on, because I mean, cookies, politics,
yes,
Justice League, intense people who care.
Yes, overlap.
I think there's a lot of overlap there.
Well, and I don't have any cooking. I'm not a baker. My sisters all are tremendous bakers and cooks, and I don't have that gene at all. In fact, I told you when you reached out, I said, okay, I would love to do your podcast, but just so you know, I'm not a kitchen person except to go in and get cookies and then leave the kitchen. And so, thank you for ignoring that part of my life and still seeing past that.
Not being able to bake cookies is okay, because that's okay. Not liking cookies, that kind of that hurts.
That's freakish.
That makes me feel a little bad. Right? That's kind of freakish. That's one of my favorite words as well. You and I sort of met talking on here and there on Threads or Twitter or whatever it is, and I noticed also that you had posted something about how you really wish that Threads could be a place, or that also any social media could be a place where we could like share our good things and our bad things and have a civil conversation around them. Dreamer.
Right. Crazy.
What possessed you to write that?
It's interesting you should say that, because I thought...
What sparked it?
I thought long and hard about saying it, because I thought, does anyone even give a shit what I have to say about social media? Everyone has an opinion about social media. Everybody. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't know that it's even necessary, but I, Susan, needed to say it, because people seem to have this expectation that I think is so damn unrealistic, that we're on these platforms that are about us and about our being able to express ourselves, and that somehow the meaning of them is so that we can enrich our lives. And that's just not reality. Mm-hmm. And, we have to remember who's running these platforms and what they've done in the past and what they're doing now, and just adjust our expectations, because if we want that wonderful space where we can express ourselves and it is free and open and not judgmental and all of it, we have to remember we have to do something else, because where we are, where we're choosing to be, we know the boss and we've seen what the boss can do. And I got tired of people saying, I'm upset that this has happened, like with the news on Threads, with the politics.
What would be,
you have to opt in? Like what? Why is that shocking to anyone? And it pisses people off, and it's upsetting to me, because I want to read more and more about politics. One of the things I love about social media is being able to shut up and listen to people who are way smarter than I am about these subjects.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
So I want to hear from people. And if those people are cut off on that platform, that's a problem. But again,
that's a problem.
Look at the platform. And are they going to bend to what we want? I don't think so. And I think thinking that they will because we're complaining about it, I think we have to do something else. I think we have to go to plan C. I mean, everyone, people left Twitter, and some people are still on. I still visit it to promote my podcast. And
yeah, I visit it too.
And I visit it, and I see a lot of people there who I respect deeply. It's hard to be there. It's hard to be there as a Jew, as a woman. It's hard to be there because there's so much hatred on that platform. But at the same time, we all built that platform together. We all built that community, and I miss it terribly. I really, really do. I haven't found that on Threads to the degree that I had it.
No, I think it's been really hard. And there's so many bad things on these platforms, but I really am choosing to look for the good, as Mr. Rogers always has admonished us to do, encouraged us to do, really. And one of the things, I think you and I were talking about this a little bit before, was one of the lovely things. You and I found each other, and here we are talking face to face, which is a fantastic thing. And I wish you lived next door, and then I would bring you some of this. And I should mention, I am making a pie today with a graham cracker crust. It's going to have like a cheesecake-like filling. They are great, because I know you're vegetarian, great vegetarian cream cheese out there made by Mykonos, which is great to cook with. And you can make this, and there's also good whipped creams out there, because this is a no-bake cheesecake. They have really good, like, oat milky ones that you can get in your grocer's dairy case, I guess. And then it's going to have this strawberry topping that I'm making for it. So it's like a strawberry pie with a creamy middle.
Okay, I'm just basking in this description for just a moment, because you said graham cracker, you said cheese. It's like all too good to be true. And I do want that recipe. Not that I will make it, but my partner Mark is excellent baker, and he will make it.
I also I think, I don't know if I put it on Substack. It may be on an old part of the web, but I made a cheesecake for Mary Trump, who is also a vegetarian, and it's like a blueberry cheesecake, and it's really quite delicious. So
Mary Trump, Mary Trump, it's like a long lost, I don't know, cousin.
Something.
And
I don't know. Do you really want to be related to that family?
No,
I don't
not
know.
at all.
Maybe
but
the other side of her family.
But I dig her, and I give her I just, huge admirer of hers, for her intellect and for her bravery. But no, I don't want to be related to him. But back to good things that we find on social media. Can we talk about Valerie Bertinelli finding love?
Yes, we can talk about Valerie Bertinelli finding love. For all of you who do not follow the love sagas of Threads or Twitter, and I'm of strangers, but come on, everybody watches The Bachelor. This was much nicer. By the way, I'm chopping up strawberries to make this sauce.
And I'm just sitting here like a bum. If I were there, I would help you in the kitchen.
You would definitely help. See,
I really would.
Like this.
I'd be sitting at the kitchen table drinking your delicious coffee with creamer, by the way.
Vanilla oat milk creamer, right?
Yes.
But that's the entire premise of this podcast, actually, is that you should be sitting on that side of my counter talking to me. So in a sense,
That's what I'm doing. Right.
But Valerie Bertinelli was, followed and was followed by a character on Twitter known as the Real Horse. And horse is spelled, or known as Real Horse, as in Hoarse. I was first drawn to him because he had a picture of a horse as his avatar, and my daughter's a big horse rider. So I was like, oh, look. And he made a pun. I like him. Long story short, turns out through 18 different strange connections, I ended up talking to him in real life. And it turns out we're from the same town, and our kids were on the soccer team together.
That's crazy. That's just crazy.
Who'd have thunk?
But you were drawn to me for a reason. I mean,
I was drawn to,
right? And because your worlds collided or connected. And I took one look at that guy and said, there's something familiar about you.
Yeah.
I don't think I live in the same town. But
Nope.
There's something familiar about you, and I think you're a good guy. And I like you for Valerie.
I know. And I think that's been wonderful. And that the story is that he and Valerie became friends over social media.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another. And now they're girlfriend and boyfriend. And he's on page 6 going photographs of him are on page 6, grocery shopping with her. And I got to say, they seem like, I'm so glad for both of them.
Me too.
I know he deserves it. She deserves it. And in the nicest possible way, because this sentence doesn't usually mean that, but they deserve each other.
Yeah.
And that sounds off. That's often a negative, and it's not. I mean, they really are lovely, lovely people.
Yeah, and they found each other in this crazy world, and in this crazy world where there's so much there just isn't a lot of joy. I mean, of course, there's joy that we're creating for ourselves, but in the world as a whole, there isn't a lot. And so I so appreciate their story because it just felt so joyful. And I'm following it. And what I love about them, too, is, maybe had he met her when he was younger, he would have been so swept up in all the craziness of her celebrity. And not to say that you're not a little swept up. Who wouldn't be? And he acknowledges that. But then they go to the Emmys and then they go home and eat pizza. Who doesn't love that? It's such a great moment. It's Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson eating
carbonara in bed.
Yes, it's that. It's heartburn. It's that moment, and it's delicious, if I can use that word. So yeah, not that
I know it's a.
We don't have to spend the whole interview talking about that,
nice
but
talk about
I could.
Oh, we could.
But I'll say this: I'm a huge soap opera fan. I didn't know cartoons. I didn't know that world at all, and I'm still learning. But soap operas are like my jam. And I grew up, I have 3 older sisters. We all grew up watching soap operas. I've been lucky.
Which one?
Oh, which ones didn't I watch? I watched them all. I mean, really,
if I said to you, Luke and Laura, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, not only do I know Luke and Laura, but Scotty is one of my closest friends.
What?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, this is when worlds collide. We were on the Justice League together. He played a character named Green Arrow. He voiced a character. And then it turned out he was on my block. He lived for a time on my block. And I'm walking one day and I see him. And I went over to tell him that I was a huge fan, but that also we did a show together. It's always nice when you can meet somebody at their level and you're not just a fan. And I said, but we did a show together. He said, oh, which show? And I said, the Justice League. And he said, oh, yeah? Yeah, what character did you do? And I said, oh, just a little character named Wonder Woman. And, and then his eyes got big and we've been friends ever since. And so he's let me meet so many people in that. I've met so many people in that world through Kin because he knows everybody in that world. So it's just, I love when those two things overlap with one another. It's fantastic.
I am going to I've been cutting up strawberries super small because I'm making like a strawberry sauce compote sort of thing to put on the top.
Okay.
And it's got to cook down a little bit. So I'm going to do that, just so you know, if you're hearing little noises in the background. And I'm going to mash it a little bit too. And I'm going into my big drawer to get the masher. And that's the terrible noise you're going to hear in the background. There you go.
Okay, but I got to say,
Now
you're
we're gonna
good at
mash.
multitasking.
So please talk while I mash. Let me ask you about, because you have this podcast that's all about fandom. I think that's also something that social media has made possible, is deep and profound fandom. You can, my daughter's a Doctor Who fan, and she can be on social media figuring things out, learning more, getting the scoop and the skinny within seconds of an episode premiering, right? Or just anything. And it's a great way to promote things. And you actually go to like the Comic-Cons.
Yes.
And when did you first go to them? What was your expectation and what was the reality?
I don't think I had an expectation because I didn't really know much about them. I mean, it was so early on in the show. It was about, I guess, 2003. And we went to San Diego Comic-Con, which is to start at the biggest.
The biggest?
It's like overwhelming, but you're just signing autographs and meeting the fans. And it's like, that's where the conversation starts, especially back then when there was no social media. So you're just hearing from the fans for the first time. And that was glorious because, up until that point, you're just in a booth recording and you don't know what the feedback is. The higher ups knew what the feedback was from the network, from Cartoon Network. But we who were participating in the show, especially the actors, we really didn't know that if it was resonating with the fans, if they were loving it. Turns out they were. And I think that was the first hint of the conversation was at the Comic-Con. And then, of course, now all these years later, when I think one of the first things I ever did when I joined Twitter was I rewatched one of the episodes and live tweeted it with the fans. And it was so joyful. And ever since then, I've just tried to cultivate as best as I could this relationship with the fans and also the people who are in that industry, in the people who make the comic books, the people who make write the cartoons, the artists who draw these characters. That was really important to me because beyond the show I worked on, there are a gazillion iterations of Wonder Woman in the comic books. And I was lucky enough to meet some of these extraordinary artists who have drawn her over the years. And I even have some original artwork from them. But, stood in awe of them, the Darwin Cooks, I'll forget if I start naming, so I don't even want to go there. But it was that's George Perez, but that's just Phil Jimenez. That was just a joy that I got to do that, meet these people and say, your Wonder Woman is beautiful and I love her and she's strong and I love how you captured her. And because I voiced it, I got into you got into those conversations with people because they knew who I was. Mm-hmm. I got to meet Gal. I got to meet Patty Jenkins and be on the set of Wonder Woman 2. I got to go to the premiere of Wonder Woman 1 and be in that audience at the studio when they first premiered that film because of what I did in 2001 through 2006. I mean, it has been, as I say so many times, it's been the most extraordinary gift of my professional life, hands down. I mean, nothing I've done or will do has come close to that, voicing Wonder Woman in that show.
I love that they acknowledge the importance of all the Wonder Women, and that, without your Wonder Woman, there wouldn't have been the platform for the movies, right?
I don't think that's true, but I think a lot of people,
I will say that.
Thank you. I think a lot of people that we meet at the Comic-Cons met these superheroes through our show, and that's a generation of people. And that generation has grown up and now shown their children. And I think the voiceover, the animation does get overlooked. And I think you overlook it at your own peril, because I think that they have, especially DC, what DC does best is their animation. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And the people I work with and have worked with are brilliant creators. And I always say, if they took the talent from animation and used it for live action, the sky's the limit at what they could do.
I know. I think one of the great things also about the Comic-Cons is that you get to see not just the actors, or not just, but you said people who create it, and you forget. It's easy to sit in front of the TV and be entertained, or wherever you are, and forget how much work goes into 22 minutes, 25 minutes.
100%. And that's one of the joys of the podcast is I had no idea, what went into making that 22 minutes. I mean, that right. Specifically, I mean, I know production and I know some things, but I had never had in-depth conversations with, like I said before, the writers, so it's been a huge education. And, my awe has just gone, I'm just in awe of these people and what they've created, because so much of what you see on screen has nothing to do with the actor. Those expressions that they're giving her, Wonder Woman, I'm not doing those expressions. They're being, the animators are giving her those expressions. And it's just a magnificent operation. It's just so, just please tell Paul, I appreciate the, him knowing DC, because I'm so proud of it.
Well, the lead that I'm bearing is that my son, who's 18 now, when he heard that you were going to be my guest today, was like, oh, I've had a lot of really well-known people on my podcast, but he finally was like, that's cool. And he loved, and he was like, I watched those all. So my son has the same name as your dog.
Best name ever.
And my dog was originally named same name as your dog and my son. So my dog's name is no longer Ollie. My son's name is Ollie, and my dog's name is Bosco.
Aw, I love those names. I love those names. And tell your son I say hello, please. Give him my best regards. I think a lot of at the Comic-Cons, you have all your pictures laid out on a table. And so I do a lot of video games, and I'll do video, I do a ton of video games, and there'll be a game that I did 20 years ago, and somebody's face will just light up and you voiced that character? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I loved that game. I played it all the time when I was a kid. So it's just, lucky us that we get to do these Comic-Cons. I mean, it's such a gift to the actors, to the writer. I mean, really, we just pinch ourselves that we get to do it and meet the fans.
That's so. And they dress up, and it's the whole 9 yards, right?
Oh gosh, I mean, on Instagram, I post so many of the people that come to my table because they're tremendous, and the cosplay of Wonder Woman, and also just other characters, just across the board. And I often say, can I take a picture of you and post it on my Instagram feed, because, people want to see that, and people respond. Mm-hmm. They just are blown away by some of the costumes. I just posted somebody who was dressed up as Hawk Girl, and the response was huge because she really did a brilliant Hawk Girl. And I don't know that world. I didn't grow up with that. So it's just really fun to be a part of it now.
That's incredible. Do you ever, so I have a few, there are a lot of things to talk about that are going on in the world. And I have to talk a little bit about my strawberries that are actually here on the stove. And I really wish you were here, because the smell of these cooking strawberries is really pretty fantastic. I have a few kind of, I don't know, I'm sure you've been asked these questions, but I really have to ask, are there moments in your life, when you're, when I was, my sort of, let's talk about me.
Please, let's talk about you.
And at 20 minutes, nobody is listening to the podcast anymore. No.
That's not true. You have your fan base.
Guys, we're getting back. I swear we're getting back soon. But for a lot of us, not just me, we sort of see ourselves as our own personal justice warrior, Justice League type. I know my husband and I are like, that person cut in front of that person in the supermarket. They're bad. I should tell them that, or like, I need to do justice and whatever.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you are ever kind of struck by those feelings, and even though you are really, Wonder Woman, do you feel like that?
All the time.
Small ways.
All the time. Because I believe in justice. And so when I see injustice, I get crazy, and I'm a Leo. So I have a big personality and a temper, and I just want to fix it. And I want people to be held accountable for bad behavior. So this is a tough era to be living in. It's just a tough time to be living in because there's so little accountability for so much bad behavior. And it seems like the wrong people are being held accountable, and the people that should be aren't being as much as they need to be. But
what an interesting week to say that.
Yes, exactly. Right. I mean, it's a crazy time. I'd love to turn the page on this. How many book analogies can I give? I'd love to start a new chapter. I'm so over this chapter. I feel exhausted from this book. And I think most people I know are exhausted from carrying around this angst and fear and concern, and I like to have children. I don't have children. So to have children during this period of whether it was COVID or just a certain presidency that is over now, I just think, wow, you still have to go to soccer games and you still have to find that everyday joy. And I think in some ways it's probably easier with children than when you don't have them, because it's like, I don't have soccer games to go to. So it's like, okay, where's the joy? Is it a hike? Is it taking Oliver somewhere? You got to create it, because otherwise it can get really dark. At least for me, it can get really dark.
I don't think you're alone. And from my experiences on, let's talk about it again, social media, I know from the people who respond to my Substack, I know from the people who respond to this podcast, and I know from the people who respond online that it has been a really, really challenging time. And I also think it is profoundly challenging for kids, even though you're right, there comes with kids an incredible respite, right? Mm-hmm. Where you can just talk about the soccer game or whatever and kind of refocus, but they've also, there have been suicides, and there have been the amount of stress and mental illness that rose up during COVID for these kids. Mm-hmm. We never saw anything like that as a kid. And it wasn't just because we were less aware, or it's because they look at a very bleak future. Mm-hmm. I'm pausing to let my dog, now named Bosco, outside.
Okay.
He will go outside in order to extricate a bone from me.
Oh,
maybe.
I thought.
No, he's gonna go. He's gonna go down. He's not gonna extricate fecal material. What he'll be doing is he wants to extract a chewy from me, and so he goes outside, and he knows that. Well, I mean, should we move on now, because I've been really well trained by my dog.
Same. By the way, same. Oh gosh.
I've added cornstarch to this slurry of a mashed strawberry to help it thicken up, so it doesn't drool off of. That's a bad word, but dribble off. I have a question for you. A lot of times people make an interesting pairing of strawberries with a little bit of basil in it, and I wondered, should I do that?
That's such an interesting. I think that's interesting. I don't know if it is, in your experience, is that delicious?
It is a very interesting experience. It's sort of like a more mentholy mint and strawberry and mint go well together.
Huh. Then I say
Maybe
yes.
I'll try it.
Yeah. I say try it.
Be a little
Life is
different,
short.
right?
Life is short.
Exactly. Wait, if life is short, should I eat? I'll make twice as many pies. Yes. So if Wonder Woman came, I don't know if you're able to answer this, but if Wonder Woman were to come to our planet now,
Yes.
and she had to deal with some things, what do you think would be on her list of things that to deal with?
Oh God, where do you start? I mean,
Let's start in the United States.
Oh,
Let's start in the United States.
Sure.
Because some of the things going on in this world are just...
Okay, so if she started here, I think she would start with women's rights and those being taken away, those that we thought we had, and now with abortion being taken away. And I think she would start there. And from there, I think she would, I would love... Wonder Woman lives on an island called Themyscira, Paradise Island, where I think Linda Carter, it was Paradise Island, but in my version of the show, it was Themyscira. And it's all women. It's an island of all women. And I say that it's looking better and better every day because, I just think we have to let the women run things more and more.
So we can be in charge of our own bodies? Is that are you suggesting something as carefree and strange?
It's so weird.
As odd as that?
Yeah, it's a weird concept. Yeah, and it's not to say that all women feel the same, because obviously we know that there are Marjorie Taylor Greenes out there and there are other people out there that I do not agree with. Oh God. Oh.
Do we want to get on the subject of Mrs. Alito? Or
I think that's where Wonder Woman would go next, is the justice. Because if you don't have a strong justice system, if you don't have a strong judiciary, you're effed as far as we're concerned. And I'm going to speak for me and Wonder Woman at this point. You cannot lose faith in that judiciary. Once you lose faith in that system, you have to turn out the lights and call it a day. And I would love to know what we, beyond our outrage, what we could do as citizens to get rid of Alito and Thomas. And can I just add that if we had listened to these women all these years ago who talked about the Kavanaughs and the Thomases, the Hillary Clintons, if we had just listened to Hillary Clinton, it's I would fix that Supreme Court, boy. That's, I think, something she would fly over there immediately and try to get that worked out, because it's it ain't kosher what's going on there. And,
no, it is not kosher.
And I don't
and I think our founding fathers would could pick up our founding fathers on the way over, because our Constitution was created and our justice system was created, right? What is this? So that, even a king, we were responding to a king having complete power. And here we have Justice Alito and Thomas saying out loud that it's really unnerving that they say it out loud, that it would be okay for, if Trump were to become president, or anybody become president, that they could, mete out their own justice on people that they thought it was important to mete it out upon, because, they're the president.
Right. Well, it's this, and it's the same for them. They feel like their ethics should be judged by them. They're going to take charge of the ethics of the Supreme Court. And it's like, you mean you unethical people are going to after the ethics? It's I thought that the Bush presidency, George Bush.
Remember when you thought that was really bad?
Incredible. I thought, I grew up on Watergate hearings. I thought that was really bad. And it ain't nothing. I mean, it's like, it ain't nothing compared to this time, this era that we're lucky enough to be living through. And I just wish there was a way. I think, getting back to your original question about why I went online to talk about the platforms and give my 2 cents, which no one was asking for. is because where do you put the outrage? Like a President Obama would say, okay, we've got to be constructive. You can't just be outraged. It's like you've got to be constructive in your outrage. So in terms of the Supreme Court, what can we do? We know what we can do in terms of the president because we can vote. But what do we do about this current Supreme Court and their unethical, illegal behaviors? Who holds them accountable?
And well, it used to was that there were checks and balances that would, and that's what we believed in. But the idea of the Democrats having one more sort of hearing at Congress and asking the, Alito and Thomas or whomever else to show up, you want to lay bets on whether or not they'd show up?
Right. And when did that happen where the authority that was always respected, the rule of law that was respected, the way that, the passage of power, that's not the right word, but, was respected no matter what I thought about Bush and Cheney, the norms of behavior were like, we were all on the same page about that, the transition of power, all of that stuff, the rule of law. But now it just seems to have gone out the window, and the floodgates for ugliness are just wide open. And I don't know how we close them. Any ideas how we close those floodgates?
I mean, the first and most obvious one is the one that you said, which is we do actually have to vote. Mm-hmm. Because if Donald Trump, I'm leaving the camera for a second to get one thing. But if Donald Trump wins, then it feels sort of, I don't want to say game over because I'm a hopeful person, but it's not going to be a very good scenario because then, think how much of the federal court system that he was able to change while he was president. And all these little, my brother has a new Substack, my brother David, all about where he talks about it. And I think it was earlier this week, one where he talks about Mrs. Alito, and it talks about how it all kind of happened while we weren't looking. We were looking at something else. There was too much to look at.
Well, and also the Washington Post sat on the story, with flags. So that's a whole other piece to this puzzle. And that, and we need the news media more now than ever. And I think I have less faith in the news media than I ever have in my lifetime. So I love that you're a hopeful person. I love that you're a hopeful person. I love that you don't even say game over, like where most people are talking about, like, where are we going to move if Trump becomes? I don't think he's going to win personally. I think there are too many women out there who are outraged about things being taken away and other people deciding about our bodies to just sit it out. Like we are going to show up at those polls. And I think women are going to be the force that wins this election for Biden. I really do.
It's going to be hard to get a young demographic going out there to vote because they all say things like, those guys are too old. What are we even doing? And there needs to be a whole kind of education or I want to say re-education because then it sounds like I'm North Korean, but dictator, but some sort of education, right? Like a younger generation of people of how important their vote is.
Does your son feel it?
Yeah. My son feels it. My daughter feels it. She's a little bit older than my son, and but they also, I think they grew up in a house where I was screaming and yelling all the time, right, about what was going on, and they have a family where everybody screams and yells about what's going on. You don't get a David Roadcop just by like random chance. And my brother Paul is very vocal, and we're just all very loud and vocal.
But smart. I think smart, and that's what makes it. But that's a huge piece to this, because loud and vocal and smart. That's what I want. I want loud and vocal, but I want smart. I don't need loud and vocal and stupid. I need loud, vocal, and smart, because I'll shut up and listen to those people.
Well, but I think maybe you are loud, vocal, and smart yourself, perhaps. Yeah, maybe.
Well, I'm not as smart as some of the other people in the room, and I know that, and I'm good at shutting up when I know I can learn something. I really am, and I revel
like
in
house
smart.
Growing up,
Really.
there used to be the longest time where I just didn't speak because I'd just be like, yeah. And I suddenly hit like 50 and I'm like, oh, wait, I get to speak out loud. I get to tell people my opinion.
Well, and you're also the youngest, and you're a girl. You're a woman. So that had to be challenging.
No, not in my house. It was okay.
It was okay.
I mean, yeah, my father was very, very you can do whatever you want to do. He was a scientist, and he the first people he hired or worked with at Bell Labs were all women. He had loads of women scientists that he worked with. So he was very much like, let's do this, whatever, go get him, tiger.
Wow.
So I was very lucky that way. And
that is
my
lucky.
Brothers are super feminist, so that's good.
That I know. I know that about your brother David. I don't know Paul, so I'm sure he's a feminist. Yeah. But I don't know him. But hopefully, is he on social media? I haven't seen him.
He is. He dabbles about.
Okay.
Anyway, so we have a challenge ahead of us, I feel, with youth, and I hope over the next couple of months to have some more people on who can help us with it. Shed some light on it, because, I teach at university, and I'm always trying to get kids, in my little, world, trying to get kids more aware of how important their vote is. And even if they're disgusted, upset, whatever, by the age of the white men who are running for president, we sort of have to push past this point, right?
Right.
And keep the train going, and not, take the train into North Korean dictator territory.
Yeah. What do you teach?
Intro to journalism and magazine writing, that sort of thing.
Wow, lucky students. You're the kind of teacher, if you don't mind me saying, that can turn on these kids to a passion that they will have the rest of their lives, whether it's that kind of writing or just writing in general. We all had those teachers, right? We all had those teachers that changed our lives.
You're very sweet, but this is about you. Let me ask you another question.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, remember how I said it was about me, and then we said, no, really, it's about you, and then we click, 5 more people left the podcast. Anyway, do you this is my one voiceover question I have for you, which is, it's all well and good to be able to speak, you've created, all well and good. It sounds so diminishing. It's not. It's amazing how you have created this wonderful voice that is Wonder Woman, right? But there are all these other, how do I say it, sounds that Wonder Woman has to make.
Yeah.
The grunting and the powing and the, how do you reach those sounds?
I just think about politics, and they come out of me naturally. No, actually, when we were doing this show, it was before this era. So, you learn how to do it. I mean, some people are just natural at it, but I remember it's called additional dialogue recording. It's ADR. And often when we did our show, for instance, we didn't have a picture. We didn't have any animation to work with. So we were just in a room, all of us together. We'd do a rehearsal, and then we'd read the script. And then 8-9 months later, we would have the cartoon to look at. And then we'd have to fill in all the grunts. And, you really have to choreograph the sound, because the action has been choreographed. So Wonder Woman gets hit in the stomach, then she punches, then she falls backward, and then she kicks, and then she pulls the lasso, and then she gets electrocuted and falls down. And then it's go. And, so for the first year, I was just, terrified of, I don't know how to do that. And thankfully I had the most brilliant voice director in the business, Andrea Romano, who would walk you through it. And then you'd get better at it as you went. And then you learn how to, the thing about voice acting is you need an imagination. You need to believe that you are on that island of Themyscira, or you are in the Watchtower. You are in Gotham. You have to believe that you're there. You have to see these people in front of you. You have to feel the punch. And when you feel the punch, then the noise, the sound comes out of you. And, it matters if you're giving a punch or getting a punch, different sounds. And again, I learned from the master, and then I was able to incorporate it into my toolbox. So thankfully, I have it in my toolbox now.
Are you able on the spur of the moment to be able to give me the sound of giving a punch and then taking a punch?
Sure. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, ready? And I do the action. Now, you have to be careful when you're doing the action because you have a microphone in front of you, so you don't want bracelets on. I mean, except your regular bracelets as Wonder Woman. But you don't want, a lot of jewelry and stuff like that. But you want to be able to throw the punch, and then you want to be able to receive the punch. So you're throwing the punch, huh, and then you're getting the punch, and you're going inward. And, we had to do it all the time. And, some of us more than others, but we were superheroes with superhero strength. So you can't just go, you can't be up in here in your vocal range. You've got to be in your lower register. And if you weren't, you would be told, hey, Susan, you're losing the warrior. You're keeping the princess, but losing the warrior. And, that's the gift of having a brilliant director to move you through it.
Well, maybe, just maybe, as like you said, we all have to have an imagination. Yeah. And over the next few months, we need to find our warriors. We are, and princess, but find our warrior, princess or prince, and be able to use our lower registers and a lot of diaphragm and really get out there and imagine we are there from the planet Themyscira, or the island. And
I mean, that's like, I think that's it took me a while to find my voice doing the show. It was very intimidating. When I first walked in there. I was with a bunch of on-camera actors who were pretty well known at that point. I was the only one who was only a voice actor. And so it was very intimidating. It was also being a series regular. I'd only done guest starring roles. So it's a lot to carry, and it's a lot to feel like you belong in the room and to find your voice. And I think that's what women in particular, but all people have to find their voice, their voices. And it can take a long time, but, it's there. It's there. And, you just have to be brave enough to use it.
Yeah. And I think that's what we all need to do. We all need to be Wonder Women and Justice League over the next 6 months or so, 5 months. And make our voices well known and to the world that we are not going to stand for injustice, and we're going to make sure that our country stays democratic.
Amen. If I can bring God into it for just a moment. I didn't mean to.
Is there a God on the island of Themyscira? Yes. God can come into it, Wonder Woman, whatever it takes for us to get ourselves motivated and get out there.
Well, it's the Greek gods. Right? It's the Greek gods, right? So it's like, and Wonder Woman usually says she calls upon Hera. And that was like one of my favorite lines. She'd be like, Hera, help us. And that was like a big thing in the series. And believe me, I've said it more than a few times in the last few years. So Hera, or whomever your god is, just, we'll do the heavy lifting also, but just, help us through it, because we have some heavy lifting to do.
Absolutely. And I think on that note, I shall don my amulets and my gold lasso, and say, Hera helped us. And thank you, Susan Eisenberg, for being here today on the podcast. What a true pleasure. I'm sorry I can't give you a piece of this cheesecake pie.
You're sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I loved this. I loved it. And I knew I would just adore talking to you because I've adored talking to you in quotation marks online. So thank you for bringing me into your home and, letting me do your podcast.
Right back at you. It is a true pleasure. Please come on again soon. Thank you for joining us today. You can follow Susan on all sorts of social media, including Threads at Susan Eisenberg 1 or on Instagram. And me, oh yes, me, hi. You can follow me on Substack at marissarothkopf.substack.com, where you can also find the recipe for the creamy strawberry mousse pie that I made in today's episode. And if you can, please take a moment and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps out. And I thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great week.
This episode is brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. No matter how you do game day, on the couch, in the crowd, or manning the snack table, Athletic Brewing fits right in. With a full lineup of non-alcoholic beer styles, you can enjoy bold flavors all game long. No hangovers, no buzz, no subbing out for water in the second half. Stock the fridge for tip-off with a variety of non-alcoholic craft styles available at your local grocery store or online at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, fit for all times.